Hello, everyone. Welcome to the FernLeaf Community Charter School Open House. We are so glad you're here. Thank you for taking the time out of your schedules, whatever those look like right now, to be here with us tonight. I am Nicole Rule. I am the communications and marketing coordinator for FernLeaf, and I am also a parent. There are a lot of us actually on this session, teachers and administrators who are also parents, so we can speak to that part of FernLeaf as well, which is really cool benefit here. So I just want to share, like, I've been with FernLeaf from their first year. We have 4 children now at FernLeaf. They were not all there in the beginning, but now they all are, and so I have a vast range of experience to share. So we are so glad you're here. If you guys will help us out, the the way that you'll be communicating with us is through the little Q&A uh, thing at the bottom. I don't know what to call it. So not the little chat box, but it says actually Q&A. So if y'all don't mind just writing your name in there, maybe where you're watching from, something just so that I can make sure that that is working properly and that we can hear you and that we can get your questions answered when you need them. Because our hope is that you feel comfortable just shooting us questions whenever. I'm going to be moderating those questions. So you don't have to worry about it. No one will see them but me. And so I will help moderate those questions and get them to the right person at the right time. It looks like, yeah. So just shoot me something. Oh, there's someone. Samantha, watching by the pool. Samantha, that's awesome. Yeah, okay, so the Q&A is working. So at any time, throw a question in there, and I'll ask it at the appropriate time. So I'll interrupt for you. Okay, I want to just bring your attention to this little packet that I sent y'all through the email that you probably got today or yesterday. And in this packet, there is a schedule of what the open house will look like. So that is our schedule that we're going to go through today. That's right here too. But in case you're wondering and you want to go back, this is what we're going to cover. So we're going to first cover time with our school counselor, and then we'll move to time with the executive director. Then we're going to do K through 2nd grade, just kind of a general overview, then 3rd through 5th grade, then 6th through 8th grade. Currently, FernLeaf right now is going to be K through 8th grade as of next year. And then each year we add another grade, and it's going to go up to 12th grade. So after that, we're going to speak with our other director, and she's going to kind of clean up all the loose ends. She'll give you all kinds of amazing school information. And then we'll do the Q&A for anything that we haven't covered at the very end. So if anyone has any questions, it doesn't look like that right now. So yeah, I think that is everything I have to share. So like I said, feel free to throw your questions in anytime. You don't have to wait till the Q&A section. Okay, so we want to start by introducing you to our school counselor, Brian Gillette. He is an incredible human being, as I'm sure you'll find out when you pick FernLeaf as your school. So I just really want him to get a feel for like what it's like for a student here at FernLeaf, and also for families and the culture here. And he's going to be talking about the social emotional aspect of learning at FernLeaf. So take it away, Brian.
Thank you, Nicole. I'm really, really pleased you've all joined us this evening to learn more about our school. As Nicole was hinting, many of us are parents, FernLeaf parents. So I'm not only the school counselor, I'm also a FernLeaf parent. And I can remember the first time I walked in the building with my son, who hid behind me the whole time and would barely speak to anyone. And now he's would enter any room and just like, what's up? And can I tell you about dinosaurs or the Titanic or about mindfulness and the list goes on and on and on. And so FernLeaf has made a huge difference in the life of my family. And many, many others. So what I'd like to do is start off the evening in the same way we start off every meeting at FernLeaf, and that's by reading our school's mission. So FernLeaf's mission is to foster a rich learning environment that embodies the essence of community, understanding, and the human spirit. Grounded in humble respect for our surroundings, the individual, and the world as a whole, we seek to engage the unique passions and aptitudes of our school community so that in addition to achieving academic fluency, students become thoughtful, compassionate, and engaged. So our mission is so much more than a phrase that we plaster, on top of our beautiful, beautiful website. It's actually something that a living document that we work really hard to embody every day. And our mission drives our weekly staff meetings and creates really amazing, powerful dialogue opportunities among our students. We take the time to reflect on phrases like community, understanding, and the human spirit. We explore the themes of compassion and respect. And we prioritize helping students identify their own unique passions and aptitudes. And in short, our mission drives everything that we do, including our social and emotional focus. So social emotional learning permeates our entire community life together. We begin with a simple idea. Our school staff model self-awareness, self-management, responsible decision-making, and pro-social behaviors, all cornerstones of social emotional learning, through our example, well before we expect the same from our students. This shouldn't be considered a top-down approach, though. We simply recognize that it's developmentally appropriate for adults to model the behaviors we expect to see, all within a remarkably democratic process. Secondly, we create formal and informal opportunities to explore themes of self-awareness, responsible decision-making, and pro-social behaviors with our students. Those informal opportunities happen all over campus every single day, whereas the more formal opportunities happen more specifically in our daily morning meetings, daily mindfulness practices, and I do hope you'll ask about our mindfulness practices some point in the evening, in school counseling lessons, whole class lessons, in small group counseling sessions, and in individual work with the counselor. As we move through tonight's presentations, I invite you to take special notice of the ways in which student wellness shares center stage with academic excellence. I've been an educator for over 20 years, and I've never worked in a community that makes such a heavy investment in this important work. Now I'd like to hand things over to one of our school directors and FernLeaf founder, Michael Luplow. And there's a lot that I can say about Michael as a visionary educator, school leader, and as a personal friend. But what I want you to recognize most about Michael this evening is his student-centered approach to providing compassionate, high-quality educational experiences for young people. Michael, take it away.
Well, thank you, Brian, for that incredibly warm welcome and for that wonderful introduction to some of the fundamental tenets of our school. And I just want to welcome everyone in attendance to this virtual open house. While we, of course, wish you could be here and able to sense and feel the magic that comes out of all of our teachers' classrooms and just emanates from the hallways, we're not able to do that right now, but we are grateful to be able to be here with you and to share a little bit about what that looks like. And my goal behind every tour we give in person is to let people feel something at the school, to walk away with a feeling that they get from the kids, from the general vibe in the air to the teachers. And while we can't recreate that all, I know that from listening, you've already heard it from Nicole and Brian, and you will hear it from the rest of our team here tonight. There is a deep passion that flows through every single educator at FernLeaf. And like Brian, I have also been in public education for over 2 decades, and never have I ever been surrounded by such warm, thoughtful, compassionate people who are able to do just what he said, and that is model some of the really important things that we want for your children, and in fact, for all kids. Brian talked about our mission and about how that drives everything we do. And rooted in that mission are a set of beliefs and underlying philosophical ideas. And I wish I could tell you that these were these incredibly deep and complex things, but they're really simple. And I'll explain a little bit of how that works and how that all factors into what we're doing before handing off to some of the teachers who can tell you what you really want to know, which is what does a day in the life of a child at FernLeaf look like. But some of these underlying beliefs, okay, so it starts with things like we believe all children are innately curious, creative, and imaginative. And this is not news to you because you have children. You know this. You see it every single day in every single thing they do. From the minute they came out of the womb to however old they are now, this is what they do. And I want to tell you that we take it very seriously, that it's our job to preserve that curiosity and wonder for life and that love of learning. And that is something that every single teacher at FernLeaf does every single day. We also believe simple things like learning can and should be fun. Go figure. I actually am of the persuasion that most things in life should be fun. Not all things in life can be fun, but we have to try to find ways to make them fun. And as a parent of 2 children here also, I can tell you that there are some things at school that just aren't fun, like when you are doing some academic exercise over and over again, because you have to get that embedded in your brain. But our teachers find ways to make that fun, and they balance that with all sorts of other rich and engaging activities that round out the entire experience that the children have here. So learning can and should be fun, and at FernLeaf, it is. We also believe that children learn best through doing, and that is tied to the learning being fun. No one, I shouldn't say no one, most of us don't enjoy sitting in a desk and being talked at. Learning is supposed to be engaging. You have to get your hands dirty. And in fact, I have one of my favorite teachers here. We were running a tour, and we brought a group through her classroom to visit, and she just happened to be doing an assessment. This is a first grade teacher, an assessment with kids where they were all sitting down at the table quietly with a worksheet, and they had a piece of paper and a pencil, and they were working. And she was hideously embarrassed and apologized to the families that is what they saw when they came into her classroom. And I think that says a lot, right? We work really hard to balance high quality and rigorous academics with social and emotional learning and fun and all the things in between. But like I said, it says a lot when one of your teachers is very embarrassed that her kids were sitting quietly and working hard. We also believe that strong, and I was hinting at this a second ago, that strong academics really can and must be balanced with a much more holistic approach to educating the whole child. Okay, and we hear about this a lot. People talk about it all the time, but it is something that we eat, sleep, and drink here at FernLeaf. I am really of the belief that for kids, school is not this extra thing that they do in their lives. This is their life. This is where they go every day. This is where they spend the overwhelming majority of their time. This is where they have the greatest exposure to responsible adults in their lives. And it's where most of their friends are. And did I mention that it's supposed to be fun, right? So we take this responsibility that this is their life very, very seriously, because if your child doesn't have a good experience at school, they're not having the best experience that they could have in life. We take that responsibility very seriously also. We also believe that a healthy and supportive school culture is something that has to be cultivated. And Brian alluded to social emotional learning, and you'll hear a lot about that. But this is something that our teachers are experts at, weaving into everything they do through unstructured time, but also through very, very structured activities designed to support the growth and the development of these children in that way. We also believe that children's lives are enhanced when they feel connected to something greater than themselves. And I actually believe this is true for all of us, right? Many people find this in a lot of different organizations throughout their lives. People find it in church, people find it in clubs and organizations that they belong to, in exercise groups and running marathons. I mean, you name it. But school is this place where everybody is already going every day anyway. And so when we were designing the school, this was one of the things that we thought of as like, well, let's just take this place that everyone is going and build a remarkable community that everyone feels connected to, and then their lives can be enriched and enhanced just by the very virtue that they are a member of this community. And that's real, and it adds up over time when that's what you get to be a part of every single day at FernLeaf. We also believe that children need to spend time outside. I actually think all of us need to spend time outside, but especially children. And I was first turned on to this concept by a brilliant early childhood educator who worked with students, children ages 0 to 3. And she showed me very clearly that these children's lives are not only enhanced, but they're just not full if they aren't taking in the natural sunshine, if they aren't getting all of the nutrients out of the soil and get their hands dirty and putting those things in their mouth and all of these things. And there's a lot of research that backs all of this up, but I promise we don't need any of the research. We just need to look at the faces on our children. And as we get through some of the different parts of our presentation tonight, you will see lots of pictures of children outside. And that is a regular feature here at FernLeaf. And the teachers can talk about what that looks like, but I promise you, your kids will be outside every single day. I have been accused of calling ourselves the US Postal System of public education because kids are out there no matter what. I should have prefaced that by saying we'll never put them in a dangerous situation. If it is lightning and storming, we're not going to send them out with metal rods, I promise. We also believe that your children, nor teachers, nor our school, are solely defined by test scores. Test scores are one important measure for a child of where they are at in their learning, but it's one part. And I just want you to know that as a public school, we are required to take all of the same standardized tests as every public school in North Carolina, but I hope that you are starting to get a sense that we balance their importance with all of the other things. And last, but absolutely not least, is that FernLeaf is a wonderful place. I think I'm pretty amazing, but FernLeaf is nothing without extraordinary teachers. That is what makes the difference in the lives of kids every single day. And I have never, in over those 20 years that I keep talking about, ever been surrounded by such a high quality group of teachers. And they are what makes this experience wonderful for kids. And we are lucky to have them. And you are going to get a sense of that now as I hand off to the people you really want to hear from. And we're going to start with the bottom up. And we've got a first grade and a second grade teacher here with you that are going to share a little bit about what that looks like. And they're clearly much better looking than I am. And so I will hand off to Jen Love and Sarah Batchelor.
Thanks, Michael. Hi, everybody. Welcome. I'm Jen Love. I'm also a FernLeaf parent and rapidly approaching the 2-decade club as well. I'm meeting Brian and Michael in the 2-decade in education club. But as Michael said, I'm a first grade teacher this year, and also the parent of 2 FernLeaf kiddos. And my own children have just had incredible experiences here, and I'm so thankful every day that they've been at FernLeaf and had that to enrich their lives. And my son was particularly, I was just thinking about the project-based learning aspect of FernLeaf, which we'll get into in a little bit, but my son, who's in 5th grade, did a project in 3rd grade about cooking and baking, and has really just took that to heart ever since that project, and is now quite the baker, and has even been commissioned to bake a few cakes for people lately. So and that's completely from school. That was not me. So the kids really do take the things that they are learning at school to heart, and it's really fun to watch. But anyway, so I'm here just to tell you a little bit about the lower grades and kind of what a day in the life looks like. We wish we could have you in the classroom, of course, and see all this in action, but you can just kind of take a peek at the pictures as I talk. But like Michael said, we are outside all the time, and you'll see that in pictures. We are in and out all day, and I'll just kind of walk you through what a typical day looks like in the lower grades. So typically we all start with a morning meeting every morning, and this is a time that the kids can really build community. We talk a lot about the social, emotional aspects like Brian spoke of earlier. This is a time to really connect with each other. We can problem solve. It's a great time to build some leadership skills. The kids can sort of take control of those meetings, and we can kind of coach them through that, and they can build some really unique leadership skills in that way by leading class meetings. And it's a great time for all of their voices to be heard too. And we, especially in K1, we go outside very early in the day because it's really important for us and for the kids to get that time to connect with each other and be outside and get some energy out before it's time to come in and settle down and do some learning. So we usually go outside early, and then we come in and we have snack and story time, and then we get into our literacy time. And literacy at FernLeaf, we have 2 components. We have a phonics component, which we use Foundations, which is just really, it really just stresses the phonics and gets the really nitty gritty reading skills in there. And then we also have a reading comprehension piece, which we do a lot of stories and a lot of whole group, just really digging into the meat of a story so that the kids understand what they're reading. And then after literacy, we do math, and in math and in the phonics and foundations, we really try to make everything multisensory and very hands-on. So even though it can be very dry material, especially phonics can be very dry material, we try to really make it engaging and hands-on. We have little laser lights that the kids can use, and we have shaving cream, and we have magnet letters and sandpaper letters, and we do smelly markers, and just we really try to make it as fun as possible so that the kids are enjoying phonics, even though it's phonics. And the same thing with math. We just really try to make it engaging, and we use lots of manipulatives so that they can really get that good number sense. And then we have lunchtime, and a lot of times we'll eat lunch outside if the weather's good enough to do that. We'll eat lunch outside. We'll get some more playtime. Typically we'll have structured outside time. So sometimes the kids are just left to play, and then sometimes, we'll do some team building games, or we have some great places to walk on campus and go see the creek and explore a little bit. So we have some both unstructured and structured time. And then in the afternoons, we typically do small group literacy. So that's a chance for us to really meet with very small groups of kids and read with them on their own levels and work on skills that maybe just they need to work on, or 1 or 2 children need to work on the same thing. So that's a time when we can really target those reading skills on an individual level. And then we also have our project-based learning and science time. And this, particularly in the lower grades, it's a lot about the natural world. Our standards, our North Carolina state standards, are very focused on the natural world and life cycles and rocks and minerals and things like that. So this is when we really like to get our hands dirty and get outside and explore and do some projects involving some real world things. As you can see in the picture, we've done some monarch butterfly hatching projects. We have a pollinator garden on campus, and we found some monarch eggs on the milkweed. And so we were able to raise those and hatch them and release them. And we actually tagged them through the Journey North program. And we were able to track them as they flew to Mexico, and also keep in touch with the scientists in Mexico and with some classrooms in Mexico who we were able to interact with and send some things back and forth. So the kids had a really good time doing that. And then at the end of the day, we come in and do a closing meeting and sort of wrap up the day. And it's a nice way to connect before everybody goes on their own way. So anyway, one big thing that I wanted to mention that makes FernLeaf really different from a lot of traditional schools is that we are very intentionally restrained in the use of technology in the lower grades. We really try to keep screens out of the classroom as much as possible. And really the kids aren't on, especially in kindergarten, the kids are not on screens at all during the day. So we try to keep that as minimal as possible. Obviously this year's been a little different with remote, but that's been a really good thing. And we also are we are very intentional about our use of project-based learning. And I'm going to turn it over to Sarah, who's one of our second grade teachers, to talk about that.
Awesome. Thank you, Jen. Hi, everyone. I'm Sarah. And like Jen said, I teach second grade. And I'm really excited to tell you a little bit more about project-based learning at FernLeaf. So I really wanted to dive into our force and motion unit. And what that involved at the beginning was a bunch of inquiry-based experiments and exploration, which means we pretty much set the students up with materials and let them explore it as they would. So you can see on the left, we have two friends working together to make a catapult. And on the right, the kids were blowing different materials and seeing which ones traveled smoother and faster. And we continued and had the students bounce from classroom to classroom because we love to collaborate and work with other teachers and let them get a taste of different teachers' learning styles too. And this was super fun. On the left, they made little balloon rockets with a straw and checked out how the different angles influenced how fast the balloon traveled. And after that, we traveled and we let the kids vote on which project they wanted to explore more. So we had a car project, a playground project, we had an airplane project, and I did parachutes. And parachutes are something that I didn't know a single thing about, but it was really fun for me because I was able to explore and learn with the kids. So in the right there, I have some kids drawing blueprints of their parachutes. We were trying to test out different materials to see what would make a good parachute. And we were lucky enough too, we actually have a resident skydiver working at FernLeaf, one of my best friends, and she was able to really connect with the kids and get that insider advice and share that with them. So the project evolved into so many ways that I never saw coming, like all good projects do. On the left, the kids were finally able to test out the parachutes that we worked hard on designing, and they were all successful, which was incredible. But we talked about how it doesn't always go that way, and that's part of the scientific method. You got to try different things to make things work. And after that, the kids were still feeling really excited and inspired, and they were determined to start raising money to buy a parachute for our school. So on the right, we broke out into different groups where the kids focused on making a craft they wanted to sell in order to raise enough money to get that parachute. And we had kids making journals, making jewelry. We had kids wanting to start a summer camp for other kids. That wasn't the most successful group we had, but they were inspired, which was so important. And then eventually, we did it. They were able to earn that money for the parachute, and it was a really exciting day. And the kids were the most excited to share that parachute with the rest of the school. That was really what fueled their fire there. That was what made them want to earn that, which was really beautiful and really special. And we had a lot of fun learning different songs and different games. And we even had the chance, through the help again of our resident skydiver, to check out her beloved drop zone in South Carolina. So we trekked all the way down there, and the kids got to see behind the scenes of how skydiving works. And it was just a really cool way to end our project and also ask the questions that they worked so hard to develop. So it's so fun at FernLeaf to see how different projects evolve due to the kids and what's inspiring them and what's pushing them. And I just really want to reiterate that collaboration and sharing and working together is something that just makes FernLeaf such a special school and really sets us apart. And kids will go out of their way to really work together and support each other. And a good example I was thinking of in this is we do opinion writing in second grade. And I was working so hard with them to have them really push with that last sentence and say why their opinion's the best. And I told them to sell it, and we went on and on. And so many kids were saying, well, my opinion's important, but what's really important is what the reader thinks. And it was so sweet. And I couldn't argue with that. So that's how so many of them ended their opinion writing. Awesome. And another cool thing about FernLeaf is that we all have such different backgrounds and different expertise that we can share with the kids. And we have that freedom, which is really cool. So something that I'm really passionate about is art. And I found a lot of ways to incorporate that into the learning we do. And since, again, collaboration is like the backbone of FernLeaf, many teachers are able to share their talents no matter what grade they teach. They're able to work with the kids in different grades to share those different talents and skills. And I just made a quick list of the many talents you will find at FernLeaf. We have gem miners and jewelry makers and professional artists, former band teachers, EMTs, skydivers, endurance runners, mountain bikers, and it truly goes on, and your kids will get the chance to connect with all of these incredibly unique people, which is super cool. And so before I pass it off to Kathleen and Christine, who are going to really dive in to what 3rd through 5th grade looks like at FernLeaf, I just wanted to show you another beautiful example of teamwork and the love these kids feel for each other. So this is day 1 of our monkey bars that the playground crew that was working for PBL, they were able to make. And check it out.
Thanks, Sarah. It's a hard act to follow after that video. Hey, everybody. I'm Kathleen, and I have taught 3rd and 4th grade at FernLeaf. And Christine and I are really excited to talk about what 3rd through 5th grade looks like at FernLeaf. Mainly because I really think that age, 3rd graders through 5th graders, it's really an amazing time in their life as an elementary schooler. And so there are lots of things that are very similar that stay the same from when they're in K2, because our K2 teachers do such a great job of setting a foundation that really encourages curiosity and a love of learning. But then as they get older, some things change a little bit. And so the biggest change at FernLeaf is that students transition from one building where all the kindergarten, 1st grade and 2nd grade classes are into another building where the 3rd graders, 4th graders and 5th graders live. And so Christine's going to talk to get us started and talk a little bit about what it looks like to be a 3rd, 4th, and 5th grader at FernLeaf.
Thanks, Kathleen. Hi, my name is Christine. I'm currently teaching 5th grade, and I'm just going to talk a little bit about what stays the same, what continues from building A, K to 2, into building B, 3 to 5. And so I'll pick up right where Sarah left off, which is the connections across grades and the ability for the students to really get to know teachers and staff throughout the school. And that's something that really doesn't change as they get older. And it's a really important part of building relationships and just having a support network across the school. So that's something that's really cool. And they're really able to maintain relationships with teachers that they had in the past, and also create relationships with teachers that they're going to have in the future. And so that's something that would stay the same. Also, if you were on a tour, you'd walk from building A to building B, and you'd go into building B, and the joy and the fun that Jen and Sarah and Michael all talked about is very present. in the grades 3 to 5. So there is a lot of excitement and curiosity and smiles, and it's a little loud, which is also, I'm sure, Billy A, very similar. So that's something that's going to stay the same. And just going along with that, the classroom environments are very flexible. So you can see if furniture needs to be moved out of the way so that small groups can gather. Whole group instruction is also happening during 3 to 5 in the classroom content areas. But small groups and collaboration, and so furniture gets pushed away and kids sit on the floor, or desks get pushed together. So the classroom environments are really flexible, and they're just built around whatever the teacher needs to deliver that day, or whatever the students need to produce and create. And so with those flexible classroom environments, the students are receiving instruction in core content areas, so science, social studies, literacy, and math. But all of those core content areas also have elements of small group and differentiated instruction to really meet the students where they are. And something else that's going to continue from K to 2 into 3 to 5 is the morning meetings, the heavy emphasis on social emotional learning, and just peer support, students being seen, recognized, appreciated, and loved in those morning meetings. It's a really good time to just honor the individuals and problem solve, work out things that are going on in the classroom, or skirmishes that students have had, or a problem at recess. And so those morning meetings are fundamental, and they continue into the 3 to 5. So you'll notice there's some, there's a lot of, another element that stays the same, is enrichment. So the students in K to 2 and 3 to 5 have visual arts and performing arts. And that's something that they receive Monday through Thursday with our art and music teachers. And then Sarah did such an amazing job talking also about PBL. And that's another cool thing that students in 3 to 5 really love, working on project-based learning. And so there's, again, collaboration across grade levels. Kathleen can talk a little bit about a project that the 4th graders did last year on cars. But again, because there's so many unique interests and talents among the staff, we are able to sort of draw those out and then allow students to sometimes choose which project interests them, and allowing for kids to work with each other across grades. And field work is another thing that stays the same from K to 2 into 3 through 5. So it's really a whole school thing. The students have 8 field work opportunities, also known as field trips, throughout the year. And often those are, like Sarah mentioned, connected to a project. So students could explore more deeply something that they've been working on in the classroom. So visiting a skydiving drop zone. We went to a kayak liquid logic, so like a kayak factory. That was really, really cool. And when the students were in a group on learning about STEM. And that's really, a lot of the things that stay the same from K to 2 into 3 to 5. And Kathleen's going to delve into a little bit more about what things might look a little bit different for the students as they get older and move through the grades. So take it away, Kathleen.
Thank you. Yeah, so I think just noticing a lot of the pictures that are here and thinking about what everybody else is saying, collaboration is also something that is really strong within the teachers, which allows the students in the grades, in multiple grades, to collaborate, which is something I think we've kind of been implying, but we just haven't said. And so a lot of this happens really organically, which I think is what makes the learning really authentic at FernLeaf. And so just thinking about the project that Sarah was talking about in her 2nd graders were doing, one of the other groups that wasn't doing parachutes was actually investigating cars. And so while that was happening for their forces of motion focus, in fourth grade, that was also happening for us. And so we were looking at cars, but as fourth graders, we were taking a little bit of a different approach just because our standards are a little bit more in depth. And so not only were our students able to have this really neat experience where they were learning about how cars work, and they were investigating the ins and outs of engines. We had someone bring in a car engine, and we had auto mechanics come. We were also able to incorporate a multi-grade level project where we went to the racetrack. And so there were some second graders and a big group of fourth graders that all went on a project, went for project work together to a racetrack. And we were able to have fourth graders and second graders work on some elements of the project together. So whereas the second graders were focused on their standards and we were focused on ours, there were opportunities for my fourth graders to really become leaders and work with the second graders. And I think those are the kind of beautiful moments that come out of teachers that are not only willing to work together, but really excited about working with students. And so I know that even my fourth graders were excited about getting to spend some time with their second grade teachers, as other people mentioned. So I think that having the kindergarten through second grade really set a foundation for the older students as they come up, really makes these students fun to work with. So as they get older, they become much more independent. And so that means all the things that Christine mentioned and talked about, while we're doing those things just like they're doing in kindergarten through second grade, the level of depth just becomes a lot more appropriate for their age group. And so we have a lot of fun really working in groups, what the students can do on their own, working in groups because of what the teachers have done in K2. They're really prepared to do that group work and take on, they use those problem solving skills that they learn so that they can actually get some tasks accomplished. And the level of questioning that they come up with and the way that we have to dive into these projects is just really intense in a really fun way. And so that's something that stays the same, but you also notice the changes as they have more opportunities to be independent with their things. They keep up with their own notebooks and the way that they organize and their schedules, and they switch between two classes. So they have an opportunity to see one of the teachers for math and science and one of the teachers for ELA and social studies, and they have time to mingle with other students at that time too. So that's a really fun time. But I don't know if you notice in the pictures, but we also use technology a lot more. So our third graders, but especially fourth graders and fifth graders, really start using technology for word processing and writing their papers and pieces, but also sharing and revising in a virtual sense. And then also for our project work, they do a lot of research on the computer. So you slowly start to see that intentional technology work come into play when they get into third through fifth grade. Our lunch and play space time also looks a little bit different. And this is a time when our students, we have a picnic style lunch outside. So we go outside almost every day, unless it's just too rainy or too cold to sit outside and eat lunch without getting our heart rates up. And then we transition into a time outside that students can have every day that's 30 to 40 minutes of unstructured time to play. And we have a lot of different zones for students to choose activities that interest them, but they're out there playing rain or shine. And that's something that happens in third through fifth grade. And just like they had fieldwork opportunities, so do we. But our fieldwork opportunities include longer overnights. So the younger grades do have overnight opportunities, but for third through fifth grade, you'll see students going away for 1 to 2 nights even, going to local camps. We've even taken students on a rustic camp. So the opportunities are kind of unlimited there. And we have a few other things that just aren't even, that are special to fourth grade, fifth grade, and that is our archery program. So students are able to participate in that, and that's something that everybody can do. And we also do things like raising trout in the classroom. We partner with Trout Unlimited, and each year we get eggs and we raise them, and we all the way into the spring just use every opportunity that we can to have learning moments raising those trout, and then we release them. And we've even had school-wide trout releases where everybody's been invited. And this is another opportunity where our kids get to be leaders, because as they're learning about the trout, they invite some students from kindergarten and first grade and second grade to come over and share the things they've learned, or they go over to their classrooms and teach them about what they're learning about the trout in the classroom. And so, you know, even we think of third through fifth grade as becoming those grades when students start to test. And it does include, you know, higher levels of math. Students are analyzing text. There's a lot more sophisticated writing going on. But at the same time, students still have time to be curious, and they have time to do hands-on activities and question. And we just want to make sure that our students still find that joy in learning, like Christine was talking about earlier, even as they get older. And so being in third through fifth grade is a pretty fun place to be when you're at FernLeaf. And now I think we're going to hear from Vic and Lauren, and they're going to talk a little bit about middle grades.
Hi, my name is Vic Weasel. I currently teach social studies for 6th and 7th grade at FernLeaf. I've also taught ELA, and like many of the other panelists here, I'm not only a FernLeaf teacher, I am a FernLeaf parent. My 3 children go to FernLeaf in the 2nd, 3rd, and 6th grade. And yeah, I can't even really describe how much growth I've seen in my children in their time at FernLeaf. But today I'm going to talk about a day in the life of a FernLeaf student in the middle grades. And as Kathleen was saying, a lot of stuff is the same. Our core values are the same. Our core approach is the same. But as the students get older, things get more complicated and things are different. In the middle grades, just like every other grade at FernLeaf, we start each day with a home crew meeting, with a community meeting. Our middle grade home crews are multi-grade, which gives students an opportunity to form relationships outside of their grade band, as well as an opportunity to show leadership when they're the older student in that particular home crew. After our home crew meetings, we move on to our 4 core academic classes: science, social studies, English language arts, and math. We follow the North Carolina Standard Course of Study for those core subjects, but we of course approach them with our unique FernLeaf approach. Every day at school, our students in the middle grades have an elective class. We have a strong electives program with a pretty wide variety of options. They change every year. Currently, we have visual arts, performing arts, which is including songwriting and filmmaking. We have a STEM class focusing in like robotics and computer coding. And then we also have an outdoor education class, which is really more of an outdoor science class. It's like naturalist. Every day, our middle grade students go outside, just like every other student at FernLeaf. Much like the kids in the 3 to 5 grade bands, we eat lunch outside every day unless the weather is just so bad that it's not possible. But regardless of where we eat, we do have unstructured time outside for our students every day. And then we also intentionally build time into our schedule for the students to socialize with their friends. We would like to think, as you know, parents and educators, that they're going to school because they really want to learn, but the reality is that our students go to school because that's where their friends are, and that's really important to students in this age range. And so rather than fight the tide on that, we intentionally build time in to their day where they can socialize with their friends. They have free time, little bits of free time, 10, 15 minutes, a number of times through the day, so they can connect with their peers. And now I'm going to pass this on to Lauren, who's going to talk to us about a whole bunch more stuff about the FernLeaf middle grades.
Hopefully not a whole bunch more stuff, Vic. I don't have a whole bunch more stuff laid out, but I do want to just elaborate a little bit on 2 components of the middle grades, one being our curriculum and the other being the social emotional learning that we see in the middle grades. And bear with me, because as everybody's been talking, I've had this metaphor come to mind, and it's the first time I've verbalized it. I'm one of a handful of ultra runners within the FernLeaf community. And I think that this school attracts them because when you're running 50, 100 miles, the challenge is so overwhelming that everybody who's in the race is like, hey man, what do you need? Because everyone has such respect for the distance and for the challenge of it that they take care of each other. And I think we at FernLeaf feel a pretty deep sense of humility about what we've been tasked to do. And so there is that camaraderie and that support across, not just within, the teachers of the crew, but just across the whole school, where everybody is pitching in and saying, hey man, what do you need? You're looking sort of rough. Do you need some salt tablets? And it creates just an incredible product. And so I'm thinking specifically in terms of the curriculum that we create across the crew. As Vic mentioned, we have the standard course of study, but the 4 teachers have a pretty good understanding of each other's standards. And so we tackle those together, and we can support each other in our projects and in our planning by incorporating multiple standards in our projects across disciplines. And we're able to really deepen the level of thought and critical thinking and maximize our time as instructors. We also have pretty significantly smaller class sizes, which allows us to really tweak instruction for the individual student and cater to individual interest and individual need, it's just a blast. As mentioned in the other grades, we focus on project-based learning because we want learning to be authentic for our students. And we really can dig into way more content by meeting the kids where they are and running along with them. Oh, 2 running metaphors. I'm sorry. Forgive me for that one. That one was unintentional. Additionally, we all know that middle school is traditionally purgatory. And it's a time when there is a lot of social upheaval, emotional upheaval, physical upheaval in our students. And the FernLeaf approach to the middle grades really supports kids along the way up until that point. So Vic and I have the best jobs at the school because we just get to profit off of all of this incredible work that everybody else has already done and dig in with some really incredible kids. So these kids, when they get to the middle grades and they start meeting these social challenges, these physical challenges, not only do they have strong rapport with their teachers and with other teachers throughout the school, they also have the internal skills that they need to navigate some of those crises and even support each other through those. Similar to Sarah's video, one of the first times that I interacted with our middle grades kids, they were going through an obstacle course. And once the kids got to the end, they were timing themselves. Once the kids got to the end, they would stay there and cheer on the other kids. And I looked around at everyone else waiting for somebody to be like, what is going on? Because I had never seen middle schoolers support each other, or excuse me, kids, preteens support each other so enthusiastically and authentically. And it was just a beautiful thing to see. And with that, I guess I'll turn it over to, is Molly up next?
Oh, a couple more things, Lauren.
Oh, excuse me. Thank you.
Sorry, I have a few more things to cover or to talk about. And one of which is the small school size, which I think is a huge, huge element of what allows us to really engage our students in the way that we do. FernLeaf is small enough that every student in the middle school is known by every teacher and every other student, and that allows your child to be seen and recognized in a way that just can't happen in a middle school that's got 800 or 900 students. We take a very intentional approach to behavior management. As we all know, the middle grades are a time when students start to push against boundaries to sort of really explore their world. And we recognize that, and we use a really intentional behavior management philosophy called cooperative problem solving. Our students are offered multiple opportunities to demonstrate leadership working with younger students. That might be tutoring a small math group, or reading with the kindergartners, helping at recess with the younger students. We utilize school-wide, we utilize standards-based grading. That does not change in the middle school. We're more interested in a student demonstrating their knowledge than achieving a letter or number grade. We do offer athletics for 5th through 8th grade next year with the Hospitality League. We have a basketball team, a soccer team, and a flag football team. These are co-ed sports teams, and the Hospitality League really focuses on good sporting behavior as opposed to excessive competition. We are instituting a travel program last year, about, I think actually a year ago tomorrow. I'm sorry, a year ago this coming Saturday, we were supposed to leave to go to Costa Rica for our first international travel trip with a group of 5th and 6th graders, and obviously that didn't happen. But we will be working on building up our travel program, both internationally and domestic travel. And finally, homework, which can be a hot button topic. And it's one of those topics where you often, no matter what you do, you're going to have somebody upset with what you do. But we take a very intentional stance on our homework. We recognize that as students get older, homework can become a useful tool for them to develop positive study habits, demonstrate responsibility, and develop their executive function in terms of managing their time. But we are very intentional in the homework we assign. We never assign busy work. It's always meant to support the learning that happens in the school day. And it is limited in the 6th and 7th and 8th grades. Typically about an hour a week is what we're aiming at. And I think that's everything I was supposed to talk about. So I am now going to pass this over to Molly Luplow, one of our school directors. And yeah, Molly, take it away.
Thank you, Vic. Well, all right. I do have some miscellaneous information. I might be able to answer some questions that you're wondering about, but our group has definitely shared lots of amazing information so far. So typically, if you were here for an in-person tour, we would be making our way down the hallways and through the buildings, and I would just sprinkle this information in as we go. But I'll start by talking about our school calendar. If you haven't had a chance to look at it, do check it out. We're pretty proud of it. We like to consider it a bit of a hybrid between a traditional calendar and a year-round calendar. Our students do come back a bit earlier than some of our surrounding districts. We usually are coming back mid-August, and coming back a little bit early allows our students to still have a great summer, but allows for us to plant some additional breaks in our schedule, in our calendar. We have a fall break in October. We have that traditional holiday break in December. We have what some refer to as Spring Break Junior in February. And then we do have that more traditional spring break, usually in March or April. And these breaks are really amazing times, not only for our students and families to connect and take some time, but also our staff to also take some time and enjoy the amazing area that we live in, or travel to far off places, and then come back to school ready to dig back in. Our school day runs from 8 until 3:30, Monday through Thursday. We do dismiss at noon on Fridays. This time on Friday afternoons is spent with staff collaborating with one another, planning, in committee meetings, engaging in professional development, and we have our weekly staff meetings on Friday afternoons as well. So with school starting at 8 o'clock, our students are welcome to arrive at 7:30. Instead of coming inside and sitting quietly, our students are welcome to, or actually our students wait outside in the morning from 7:30 until 7:50, and then we begin bringing them inside to get their day started. Families are welcome to walk their students in starting at 7:45. So that's one thing that really stands out to me being here in the mornings is we have a nice smooth start, a nice gradual feel to our start, but also it really is a great time for us to connect as community members, as parents, even of some of our oldest students still walk their students to the classroom and make connections along the way. We do have an after school care program, and that runs from 3 until 6 o'clock, Monday through Thursday, and from noon until 6 for those early release Fridays. Vic already mentioned about some of the athletic opportunities we have after school, but we also have some additional classes that our staff run. We have STEM classes, visual arts, and performing arts classes, and then we bring in outside organizations to run other types of classes like Bricks for Kids and Soccer Shots. And then we also encourage our students and staff to get involved with clubs. So right now we actually have a yoga club running. We've had foreign language clubs in the past, chess club, and lots of other opportunities there as well. For lunch, next year, we will be partnering with some local food providers to make sure that we have a healthy lunch option here for all of our students. We're excited about that because right now all of our students are bringing their lunch from home, and we've wanted a food program for as long as we can remember. And it looks like next year is our year. With regard to transportation, it's a big year for us next year too. We will be offering pickup and drop off locations in the Hendersonville and Asheville areas. So we'll be growing some buses, or not growing buses, but growing some sort of fleet of transportation options that are also going to assist us with all the field work that you were hearing about from some of the teachers who spoke earlier. So I don't need to talk about fieldwork. I know we heard lots about what that looks like at different grade levels and the different opportunities that our students have there. We do have a volunteer ask of our families. We ask our families to volunteer 3 hours a month. And sometimes those hours are spent assisting and chaperoning with fieldwork. They can be spent in the classroom working with your child's teacher. They can be spent sharing any of your talents or expertise or skills that you would like to bring to our community. We have whole school work days, usually on the weekends, where lots of families and students will come together to pitch in on all sorts of tasks and things that need to be done around campus. And then finally, if you don't know already, we are in the middle of what we call open enrollment. So we are currently accepting applications for next school year. And all the applications that come in between January 1st and March 31st will be entered into our lottery, which will be held on April 14th. Applications that come in after the open enrollment period are just placed on a wait list in order of submission. And so if you are interested in having your student attend FernLeaf next year, please do check out our enrollment page on the website and submit that application before the end of March. And I am going to go ahead and hand it back over to Nicole so she can get us going with our question and answer.
Okay, thank you, Molly. So obviously this is the question time. There are a couple questions already in the chat, so we'll get started with those, but also please ask more. If you have any right now, just throw them in the chat or throw them in the Q&A button, not in the chat actually, and we will get those answered. So the first question, I'm going to get off the screen so we don't stare at it the whole time, but the first question was answered, I believe. So if you feel like you want more information, maybe just let us know. But it was, what are your hours of operation? They had heard that we close early on Fridays. So yes, technically we do, like Molly said, the classes are over at noon for kids, but there is the opportunity to stay for after school if your child needs that extra care. But you're also welcome to pick them up at noon and go on a hike or have some fun time, which is what I know a lot of families do.
Nicole, if I could jump in and just add to that.
Yeah.
The early dismissals on Friday are just one of the many examples of the intentionality that we bring to everything we do. The type of educational approach that we offer really requires some of the highest levels of collaboration amongst your staff that you could possibly imagine. And our teachers, I think as a few of them noted, do not teach in a silo, right? Everything they do is working with other teachers in their grade bands, working with, I mean, we heard about fourth graders and second graders working together, with middle grade students mentoring and tutoring kindergarten. All of these things take time, effort, and planning. The depth of the project work that we do involves massive amounts of communication and coordination with the broader community. And the reality is when teachers are teaching from 8 o'clock until 3 o'clock every day, they don't have the ability to make those important connections within the community. And so we were very intentional about placing these early dismissals to give teachers some of that time to do those things. Also to have them be able to participate in really important school building opportunities. And what I mean by that is committee work that, I know committees can be a dirty word, but we have committees that span, run the gamut from project-based learning to social emotional learning, to a mindfulness committee, to a social justice committee. The list goes on. And these are all of the things that contribute to an important component of our mission of creating a rich learning environment. And so by giving our teachers that time to do that, they're able to double down and bring that positive benefit back to the students in a very, very meaningful way.
Yes. Thank you, Michael. That was a much better answer than I gave. Okay. The second question is definitely not for me. Do you use Common Core math?
I can take that one as well, Nicole. As Vic and Lauren mentioned, we do utilize the North Carolina Standard Course of Study. And so the Standard Course of Study for math does utilize the Common Core state standards. And like Vic alluded to with homework, there is something about the Common Core that either elicits great joy or great consternation in folks. And the reality for us is that we try not to take what I'll refer to as an indoctrinated approach to anything. What we do is we take that standard course of study as a framework and we bend over backwards to meet kids where they're at and teach them in the ways that they need to be taught in order to learn the content. And so, yes, we do use the Common Core for math, but if that elicits a negative or a positive feeling in you, about all I can tell you is that we do a great job of balancing that along with everything else we do.
Thank you, Michael. Okay, there's another question here. It says, does second grade have music, art, foreign language, and PE?
I can jump in with this one.
Okay.
Yes, we have art, music, we have outdoor education, and we have PE twice a week. We don't have foreign language yet, but if there's one thing I've seen at FernLeaf is that it's always evolving and we're always getting a chance to share our expertise too.
Thank you, Sarah, for taking that. And I will add that we value foreign language in early grades. That is something that is important to us, and we've been able to offer it so far in the context of after-school programming. But one of the things that we've discovered in the first 5 years of our operation is that in order to do anything well, you can't do everything. And so unfortunately, there is only so much time in a day and we're having to prioritize what we do. And so I just want to say that it's not that we don't value the benefit of foreign language. We're particularly interested in and really envy of schools that are able to be dual language and immersion programs. I mean, there's a lot of value there. And we will find ways to sprinkle it in those early grades where we can, but it's not a regular part of their school day.
Thank you both, Sarah and Michael. Okay, I don't see any other questions. So logistics wise, if you all have any other questions that just feel too personal or too specific to your situation, I plan on following up with y'all tomorrow. I'll email you and I'm going to give you a link to a Google form that basically you can fill out and ask your question very specifically, and we will get back with you within a day or two. So be on the lookout for that from me. Oh, there's one more question that just came in. what is the class size for second grade? Maybe we should just go through class sizes in general.
Yeah, great question, and happy to jump on that one as well. So one of the unique things about being a public charter school is that we are able to set our class sizes. And so kindergarten, we cap at 20 students per class. First grade and second, we cap at 22. And then third grade and up, we cap at 24. And while we wish we had smaller class sizes, there's not a teacher on the planet who doesn't wish they had smaller classes. We are generally in line with the schools in the surrounding area and throughout North Carolina. And a lot of that is really due in part to the way that public schools are funded in North Carolina. But as Lauren alluded to, as we move up towards the upper grades, this is where it becomes really, really important that our middle grades and up programs being capped at 24, that's as big as they go. And I will compare that to what is very often classroom sizes of 30 plus students when you get to the middle grades. And that really just starts to become untenable. And so we made a choice and a balance that instead of focusing on smaller class sizes in the younger grades, that we were really going to hone in on what Vic touched on in terms of a small school. That's where the real value lies in helping kids to feel connected, to knowing everyone around them, for their teachers to be able to know them from year after year after year. And so while, yes, we wish we had smaller class sizes, we are pleased to be in line with kind of the average in the area, but even more so pleased to have an elementary school program that is about 50% smaller than the average elementary school in the area, and a middle grades program that is 80% smaller than that of the surrounding area. So very proud of both of those.
Michael, will you also speak on how many teachers there are per grade and how many classes per grade?
Sure. We have 2 classes per grade level, and that was very intentional in our choosing. When we were designing the school, we were very interested in creating, as we've talked about, a small community model. And we explored 1 class per grade level. But there are a couple of unfortunate realities that go along with that. One is that it lacks some of the social diversity that you really need for kids to have a balanced experience. And so by doubling that up, we are also able to provide a greater exposure to a larger group of children for children to build their community circles with. I will also say that it is also just straight up economics. It is very challenging to run a small school with 1 class per grade level, but we also don't want to go to the other end of the spectrum, which very often in the traditional schools you will find 5, 6, sometimes 7 classes per grade level, and that's where a lot of what Vic was getting at with students being names and being well known and understood by all of their teachers, that starts to fizzle and disappear when you get to those numerous classes per grade level. So again, very, very proud of our small school model. And I hope that answered the question.
Yeah. Did you talk about how many teachers per grade level?
So it varies, but generally speaking, in the early grades, we have 2 classes per grade level plus an assistant. Our kindergarten classrooms are both outfit with a full-time assistant in each one. And then the grade levels above that have 1 assistant shared between the 2 teachers. And then when you move into the middle grades, because we have specialized core content teachers for math and ELA and science and social studies, they actually end up teaching a total of 4 classes throughout their day.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you. There is one more question.
Keep them coming. We love this part.
Teacher-student ratio. She's asking specifically for second grade.
For second grade, I can't speak to the exact, but for second grade, but I do know that it is 1 to 15, 1 to 14, and 1 to 15 school wide. And so given that we have the same numbers, I'm just sort of thinking out loud here, as we go across all the grade levels, I would say that's a fair answer, 1 to 14 or 1 to 15.
Okay. And one more question. They're wondering, how will school look next year with COVID?
Well, since apparently the pandemic is ending tomorrow, sorry, wishful thinking. Next year brings a whole set of additional unknowns. And I wish we had a crystal ball of what it is going to look like precisely. I do know that because we are returning to in-person learning on March 15th, that is very, very likely to be the direction we maintain. We are feeling positive about some of the directions with the rollout of the vaccine. We are feeling positive by some of the new data that is coming out of schools the longer they're in operation. And we, as a general rule at FernLeaf, are extraordinarily optimistic about everything. So I will just say that we anticipate the start of school next school year looking as close to normal as possible. But most experts agree right now that it is very, very likely that that will still involve mask wearing on behalf of by students and staff, and that there is a very good chance that we could see some lightening of some of the social distancing requirements. But I say all of that knowing, again, that no crystal ball, and that we need our community to rally behind us, because the safer our community is, the more able we are to operate our school as normal.
Okay.
But no matter what, it is going to be fun, right? Did I mention that FernLeaf is fun? And that is something that I will say that we have done a variety of, as we've been in remote, we've been doing a variety of in-person activities at school. These have been outdoor activities, very carefully structured and physically distanced, and with cloth face coverings. And despite, when we first started them, I was very nervous that how are we going to pull this off? But again, I'll go back to the incredible skills and talent of our amazing teachers put activities into place that, I mean, if you looked at the body language of the children, since I couldn't read their facial expressions, you would almost never know there was a pandemic. I mean, they have just been so grateful to be together and to participate in the types of activities that our teachers have put together for them. So I can promise you that no matter what next year brings, FernLeaf's experience will be amazing. And that was true for when we pivoted to remote learning last March on a dime. This was nothing for us. And I say that, it was an extraordinary amount of work, but we have the most amazing teachers who are part of what we call an entrepreneurial venture in a school that's only been open for 5 years. So for us to pivot and learn a new way of doing things really was just par for the course. And when we returned to in-person instruction on Monday, again, challenging, but will be met with grace and joy and excitement. And no matter what next year brings, I can promise you all of those same things.
Yes. Thank you. Well, thank you all. That is the last question. I don't see any more. So just a reminder, I'll follow up with y'all tomorrow with an email. So be on the lookout for that with another way to ask questions if you have more questions. And then if you are wondering how to apply, you can go to this little packet again, and there's a whole page on the enrollment process to make that as easy as possible for y'all. And I think that's it. Michael, do you want to just kind of wrap it up and close this out?
I would. Clearly, I could talk all night, but I know everyone's got to get back to your families. And so I would just like to thank you all for your interest in FernLeaf in the first place, your willingness to commit to the time to being with us for an hour plus tonight to learn about our school. And I would invite you, as Nicole has offered, to keep the questions coming. And if there are things that we didn't get to tonight that you would like to know, we are here for you and happy to dig in and answer those questions. My hope for tonight, as a takeaway for you, although I see a question just popped up, and let me address that quickly. We are recording this presentation, and Nicole will put that on the web and pump that out probably to you all as attendees also. And so that will be available, and we would very much appreciate you sharing that, of course, with any family members that were not able to join, but also any of your friends and colleagues. I mean, our goal is for anyone who wants to be a part of the amazing experiences we have to offer at FernLeaf to know about it and to be aware of it. And we spend a lot of time and energy trying to get our message out there, but we also know that sometimes a sharing from you saying, hey, I attended this really great virtual open house the other night goes a long way too. So we'd appreciate your support with that. But what I would love for you to walk away with to kind of wrap this up is just a handful of things. You know, Brian opened talking about our emphasis on our mission, and I encourage you to read that mission a half a dozen times when we wrap up. It is intentionally deep. There are in fact, we were accused by the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction for having a mission statement that was too flourishy and too long. It didn't meet the expected criteria of being 30 words or less. And that was intentional because we have a lot to offer. So pull out some of those things like community and compassion and thoughtfulness, engagement. I mean, just dig in and find those things. And I think you will be seriously impressed. And I know it will echo everything that you've heard from our amazing staff tonight. And that is another facet that I'm hoping you have been impressed by is the quality of our staff. Their everything from their cool, collected thoughtfulness and ability to explain things to their joyful exuberance in talking about children and everything in between. And so another piece I'd like you to walk away with is that that small school size and what that really means. And I know I've said it already, but it makes a difference when your school is half the size of, or 80% smaller than, in some cases, the size of the schools in the surrounding community. It makes a big difference in terms of the community that we are able to develop, the individual attention that we're able to offer your children, and just the warmth, love, and compassion that we're able to provide. And so on that note, Nicole, unless you have anything else you would like to add to wind us up, I will wish you all a wonderful evening. And again, express my gratitude for you and your time this evening. Thanks, everyone. Have a great night.
Bye, all.